Hulle sê so ja.
All right, good evening. We are live. We've got two wonderful guests with us tonight. Yolandi Kutser, she's a psychologist and a counselor. Amper sê she's a berader. Um, and then Michelle Murray, she's got a powerful story to tell regarding suicide. Obviously, all the regulars know Lance and myself. Lance, just for interest's sake, this photo of you was actually taken at a suicide. I was standing in the garage, and you were busy talking to a loved one. Um, you'll see you were standing in the rain there not too long ago. So yeah, you
Yeah,
haven't even seen this photo yet. So
no, not yet. Again, a sneaky photo up here.
So I just quickly want to play a short video clip that Michelle actually shared on her TikTok. I think just to open as an icebreaker.
The morning after you take your life, the world feels no different. The sun still rises, cars still pass by, people still laugh at their morning coffee. But you were supposed to wake up too. You were supposed to stretch and groan about how tired you are. Check your phone and see the messages from people who would have missed you today. You were supposed to pick out something to wear, even if it was just the same hoodie you always reach for. You were supposed to be here. But now there's a silence where you used to be, a hollow space in the lives of people who love you. Your name will become a whisper, spoken between sobs, written in tribute posts, held tightly in the memories of those who refuse to let you fade. Your favorite songs will play, and someone will break down because you're not there to sing along. Your bed will stay made, untouched, because no one has the heart to move anything. And the people who love you, they won't just cry for a day, or a week, or a year. They will carry your absence for a lifetime. They will replay your laugh in their heads, trying so hard not to forget the sound. They will wonder if they could have saved you. They'll blame themselves even when it wasn't their fault. Because you were never the burden. Pain was a burden to you.
Sure.
Sorry,
And that pain,
ek wil net daai stop. Just want to stop that. Yeah, Michelle, you shared that, and thank you so much. I don't think anyone that hasn't been on that side will ever put it into such good words like that lady did. So yeah, guys, tonight we are talking about suicide, and obviously the effect it has on people, and from various points of view. We've got Yolandi. She's a counselor and a psychologist. She's worked with people. She's spoken to people. She's got that background. Lance has been a paramedic for over 30 years, more than 30 years. He's been to these scenes as a paramedic, and he's been to these scenes as a trauma support and a chaplain. Myself, I've been to scenes with Lance and without Lance as trauma support. And Michelle lost her mother last year to suicide. So yeah, Michelle, if you'd do the honor of and just open and just briefly tell your story.
Um, okay, so first of all, I'm gonna apologize for my English because I wasn't really informed of that I would be speaking it. But okay, so to make a very long story short, um, to start with my mom's story on, yeah. So basically, we are a few siblings. And me and my sister, we didn't grow up with our mother because of some problems she had with drug abuse. So we weren't really ever allowed to see her until she got clean, which was around like 2016 there on. I'm not really sure about the dates. So we always try to like have a connection with her and like build a relationship with her. and so on. But like there were certain times where you could have like seen some things were going on, and we didn't really know what to do in that like manner, because we didn't grow up with the tools to know how to treat somebody that was going through depression and stuff like that. So my mom had a relapse and she went back into using substances, and at the end of the day she took her life last year June. Just after my mom did that, I also lost my 18-year-old cousin to suicide as well. And dealing with all of that, just like, it was very, 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 very rough. And like until this day, it's like 10 months now that I'm still struggling, but trying to like live on, like live for her and stuff like that. So yeah, that's basically a short summary of it.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anyone that wants to?
Michelle, I remember previously when we just had a short discussion before before this video we met, and you mentioned that you wish you could have had the support that you needed, and I was interested in trying to understand what was the support that you felt you needed.
So basically, like, I know from people's perspective, like if you didn't go through like what, let's say, me and the next person that went through losing someone to suicide, if you don't like, if you've never experienced it, you wouldn't know what it feels like. But like what I felt at that time that I needed was just like understanding towards the whole like situation, um acceptance, understanding, and just a bit of sympathy. Because like I can remember a few instances, like 2 or 3 months into losing my mom, people would be like, when are you gonna get over it? Like what is keeping you like this? Why can't you just get up and move on? And I just don't think people have like the humanity, like, you know what I mean? They don't have it in them to understand how big the loss and the pain is of losing someone so unexpectedly, and you didn't get to say goodbye, you didn't get to see them, you can't get to experience any of with them, and they won't get to see you achieve great things in your life. So it's just, I don't know, just like support overall would have been great, and understanding, and yeah.
So,
Yeah. Sorry, Lon. Did you want to?
so yeah, no, I just wanted to, so you just said, there was a lack of understanding from the, word go,
Yeah.
from people, it's, you use the word humanity and so on, we all in different parts of, of humanity and that, but,
Yeah.
that understanding, is that what you're trying to get through?
Yeah, the understanding of what is actually going on, and just like giving a person the time of day to actually check in on somebody, to not just ask, how are you, and walk away and not care. Like, okay, they say they're doing good, but are they actually like okay? Don't just like, okay, no, she looks like she's coping, so let's just leave it. Like, you don't know what a person is mentally and physically going through if you don't bother to put in the time to check up on them.
Yeah.
No, so just basically basic like humanity. It comes down to just that.
Yeah.
When you say this, Michelle, I can't help thinking about something that's very striking to me that I read the other day. A lady, she's an anthropologist. Her name is Margaret Mead. And as she was teaching where civilization comes from. And one of her students asked, what was the earliest sign of civilization? And her students were thinking about, what type of technology, pots, pans, or creative things. They were thinking about stuff like that. And she said, well, for her, the earliest sign of civilization was in a cave somewhere. A human femur was found that was fractured, but it was healed. It was broken, and then obviously it was put together, and they could see that person received help. That person received somebody who sat with them. Because in the animal kingdom, if you break your leg, you die. Where in civilization, in humanity, the analogy there is to say that somebody took the time to pay attention to the physical wound, but then also the obvious conclusion would be to take time of day to sit with that person, because they can't walk yet. They have to have food brought to them. They have to have attention paid, checking in. So you are actually asking for something that defines civilization.
Yeah.
And I find that in therapy that is what most people are asking for. I find that people they are actually, it's like a secondary trauma that they relive or that they are living out. It's the trauma of the suicide or the death of the person, and then also the lack of just checking in on me, not just now, not just in that 1 week after, but in 2 or 3 months after, just asking, how am I doing? Like really, and really sitting there with you and hearing you out. But in that, I also wanted to just ask you, since we're talking about suicide, you've also mentioned you've lost people to natural cause of death or other causes of death. But how is suicide for you different to losing somebody in another way?
So if I can put it in easier terms, so let's take my mom's dad, my granddad, as an example. So he was diagnosed with cancer, and we knew, because it was stage 4, so we knew already that it's not going to work out. So it's just that thought of knowing, that you're going to lose the person, so you can mentally prepare yourself for that time. The thing with suicide is you don't know when it's going to happen. It happens unexpectedly, and then there's all of the questions and all of the what ifs, and what could you have done different? Could you have been there for the person more? And there's a lot of blame, self-blame and regret and stuff. So I think that's the difference between the two, is the knowing when and preparing yourself for it, because suicide it's unexpected. You can't prepare yourself for it. Nothing could. A few weeks prior to that, I was actually sitting with my grandparents around the table, and we all had a chat about suicide, because some of the family members are struggling and stuff, and we actually brought it up. And the question that was asked was if your mom or your dad or whoever were to commit suicide, how would you feel about it? And at that moment, I didn't really think twice about it. I was I wouldn't know how to feel about it. And then obviously it happened, and my whole world fell apart, and I didn't know. I was sinking the whole time. I didn't know which side to go. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know how to cope. And that's basically it. It's just a whole mix of emotions all at once. Everything feels like it's falling down on you, and you can't get out. That's
a whole lot of loose ends without any direction, basically.
Yeah.
More than what you expect from a different type of death, if I can say it like that.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing from you is the questions. Now, questions are asked about many people losing people in different ways, but I would agree with you on the point that there are questions behind why. Did I and in the self-blame, did I miss something? Could I have helped? Did I, maybe if I just saw the signs earlier, or there's all that self-doubt coming into the equation, which what I learn from in counseling, what I learn when I counsel people through different types of grief, losing people in different ways, what I learn from people in terms of suicide is that they are shoved in something that feels like a parallel universe, like everything they lived out in their entire life is now suddenly a lie.
Yeah.
Like now it's not just grief, it's not just the death of that person, it links with it's like you are experiencing a loss of identity yourself, because like, what does it mean for you to be my mom and then commit suicide? And then what does it mean for other people who have said, well, you said you loved me, and now like what does our life together mean, or what did it mean? And now the person who can answer those questions are not there. There aren't answers to those questions. So I find to really help people deal with this sudden propelling into it, I call it a parallel universe, because it's a reality that that you can't explain to people.
Yeah.
Because you're having to deal with questions that challenges your identity and your core being. And for me, sorry, if I just want to say one more thing, and then please chip in. If somebody can listen today, and if you're listening to just hearing one thing that you can take with you to either be awake to your situation for somebody else, or just one thing that you can hear if you are sitting there and feeling you are having suicidal ideation, just listen to find that one thing that can make you stop and say, wow, let's reevaluate the situation, or let me be awake more to each other, to the people around me. So I just want to say that to the listeners, because that's on my heart. But so dealing with that parallel universe is something different.
Yeah.
You guys spoke about like you couldn't see it coming. Nothing can prepare you for it. Yolandi, I've asked you in a session, I think it was last year, what are the signs of suicide? Because there might be listeners either that tune in live or what's the episode afterwards that might be asking, but what's the signs? Because a lot of times when we get to scenes, and even if we do a debrief with people afterwards, a lot of times I would hear is I should have seen it coming. I should have noticed something. What are some of the signs, if there are any?
So I'm very reluctant to answer that question with some general sense of confidence, because suicide is very context specific, in my opinion, and sometimes experience giving general clues, general characteristics or tick boxes like that, almost cruel. But in a sense, we have to look at types of suicide before we can actually look at possible signs. What I mean by types of suicide, it's not necessarily something that's categorized in a psychological handbook, but you get suicides where people are feeling that they are ending their lives for a higher purpose. With that type of person, let me tell you, you might not see any signs. Maybe you'll just you'll probably see an increase in whatever spiritual, whatever religion they are in. There might be a heightened increase in their spirituality, but that wouldn't cause any alarm unless they talk about it. But they won't, because they want to self-sacrifice them. So that's different. But the type of suicide that you are discussing, Michelle, you might see signs of people starting to buy gifts, preparing to say goodbye a week before or a month before, like just one of the clients I had, his dad, for example, bought him a pocket knife that he always wanted, and he thought it was strange when his father bought him this pocket knife without any occasion. It wasn't his birthday or something, and so that was a sign in hindsight. But it's not a type of a sign that you can take the pocket knife and say, "Hey, what's going up? What's wrong?" So the signs are too general and too unspecific, if I can say it like that, to pinpoint it to a degree to say, oh, this person is now planning to commit suicide. But in general, there must be some sign of difference in their daily routine. They're becoming more distracted, or maybe more sociable for that time where they are planning to say goodbye. But most suicides are actually a very impulsive act. Not all suicides are planned. So we are looking for erratic behavior. We are looking for changes in pattern. But depression also causes that. Anxiety also causes that. Stress causes that. So what we then say is we are on suicide watch, meaning I see the person is acting strange. I see the person is not themselves. So we're checking in. How are you doing? Do I know this person that I'm living with? So, I'm very reluctant to give sort of textbook generalized answers. It's too context specific.
Because
and it's also very subtle, changes as well. You can't pinpoint it. Sorry, Pierre.
And I find that when we discuss the signs of suicide, specifically in generalized sessions like this, it can actually create paranoia in the people. Like maybe somebody is watching and they're worried about maybe their children or their loved ones have now been diagnosed with depression or something like that, and now they're going through all these tick boxes, and now we can actually overwhelm the person. Now that person goes into sort of like even more overprotective mode, will cause that person who, if there's suicidal ideation in that loved one, they will start to just be more silent about whatever they think and do. So
it just brings me to words that I often hear at suicides is I never saw it coming.
Because you don't. That's the sign. You don't see it coming.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a shock to everybody, like Michelle was saying just now, you also said just now, you don't see these things coming. Yeah.
Some of the if I could put it in my perspective, there were definitely some signs with my mother. I think it was a month before she did it. She would send me these long messages on WhatsApp, or if she didn't use WhatsApp at that time, she would send it on Facebook Messenger. I still have them, but it's a bit rough. That she would basically be she's asking for forgiveness all of the sudden, and she's telling me how much she loves me. And then this one specific message that she sent, stroking, something was wrong, something was going on. Because in the message, she was also saying she's sorry, she loves me. And then at the end of the message, it said, I just want one last time with you before, if something happens. And that was it. And that's the last message I ever got from her. So
sure.
I think definitely there are certain signs, but like you said, Yolandi, it's not, you can't generalize it at all, because everybody is different. People show it in different ways, and it's not something that you can just pinpoint. Some people, even in their last days, they feel relaxed in a certain way, they seem happier, they seem full of life, and then they decide to end it, and then you don't know what's going on. There are lots and lots of ways to hide it. Speaking from myself as well, that also went through stuff with suicide, there's a lot of ways that you can hide things like that, to just act like nothing's going on. So
but you even add to that, Michelle, the fact is you saw those signs now in hindsight. Obviously you saw, well, this is interesting. Mom is asking for forgiveness. You notice there's some change, but what are your options in that situation? Now your mom is asking for forgiveness. What are the option is, I mean, are you now going to give advice to some people to say, what's wrong? Are you planning to commit suicide? Like, as a reciprocant of those changes, it's difficult to really know, is this message sent? Because mom is just, changing her life, and she's wanting to be a better person, and now she's asking for forgiveness in a true way, or is she saying goodbye? And even if you confront that person in a sense that, I'm noticing these things. Are you okay? Is there something you want to say? Is there something? A person who wants to commit suicide is somebody who's she's not going to come out and say, yes, you know what, I'm planning to commit suicide next week, so I'm saying goodbye right now. Like, even in seeing those signs in some way, I think what people need to understand about suicide is the fact that your loved ones still feel chopped off from options, and then the self-blame comes in, because even worse, because I noticed she sent me that message, I noticed she did that, why didn't I just do that? And it just adds to the self-blame. But those signs could have meant so many other things also.
And at the end of the day, it feels like you're just grasping at everything you can just to figure it out. Like, what went through your head? Like, why did you do this? Like, I was going crazy trying to figure everything out. Like, why did my mom? Okay, what? Maybe I was speaking to people. I was like a conspiracy theorist at that point, because I was trying to why did you do it? Why did you put me in this?
It's that parallel universe that you're trying to function from, because you just walked into it right now and you're trying to make sense of it from a rational point of view. But what we need to understand with suicides is, even if a person plans suicide, before they pull the trigger, before they jump off the chair, they usually are intoxicated with some substance. Even if they plan it weeks or months before, it's very rare that a person commits suicide with being in their right state of mind. So we're trying to find answers from a rational point of view, and there aren't any.
What, Lance, as a first responder to these type of scenes, what stands out for you? One thing that the last couple of scenes we've been at, and we've seen an increase in this. Lance, you spoke to Vaal Emergency Care the other day, and they said over December they had the most amount of suicides that they've ever encountered over December. And also, just on that note, I want to say thank you for Vaal Emergency Care for supporting this episode. So one thing that stands out for me a lot on some of these scenes, when we get there, we'll find loved one with blood on them. Because the one suicide you and I attended, Lance, the loved one actually ran after the person shot himself. The loved one ran to hold him. Another one, the loved one tried to resuscitate, even though she only had Grey's Anatomy. She tried to resuscitate the loved one. The other one I was at was also hanging, and the mother stood by us while we were busy with the declaration, and she had to phone the family while watching her son hanging there. So these are the facts, and it might sound cruel, but the objective of tonight is, if you are considering suicide, listen to the damage it causes to those that stay behind. If you are a person that loves someone that's suspected, there are signs, or the person has made threats, there is help. You'll see numbers coming on in the screen every now and again. It is our number and suicide crisis hotline. But yeah, Lance, what is your take?
You know, I was listening to Yolandi speaking just now about that parallel universe, and out of these unnatural deaths, if I can,
Mm.
generalize about go more specifically to the suicides. That parallel universe is such a good description of what stands out to me is that these people are totally in a oblivious world. They are dumbstruck. Um, they just don't know. They got no direction at all. It's just like hit a brick wall and running full speed. And they really don't know which direction to turn. Do they run and console the loved one that's hanging there, or do they hold him while the blood is pouring out and things like that. And I want to just support Pia. We want to paint a picture to everybody that this is
Yes.
the reality that we have. Running out there. And it's not a pretty picture, for the people that are attempted suicide, because you also get those people who attempt and they're not successful, that they are still there with the loved ones and everything like it. It's still the same obliviousness hangs on that scene as to, why and so on. So that is what strikes me on these scenes is that, that obliviousness, that parallel universe, of them. It's just not a reality at all, for these people.
Absolutely, Lance. Well said.
Yeah. And,
Um,
sorry, just getting back to statistics, of suicides in South Africa. I was reading the other day, just want to get it, sorry, because before I misquote myself, that there's been an exponential increase in suicides in South Africa. So this topic that we are talking about now is really, really real. And something must be done. Something must be, a real awareness must be taken out there. Because there's data that's coming in concerning, for people between the ages of 41 and 60 age group, where 45% of unnatural death claims were attributed to suicide.
Mm.
For individuals over 50, there's a staggering 62% increase in suicide claims in 2024 compared to the last 5-year average. So, I mean, a 62% increase in 5 years, that is, sure, it's just mind-blowing, yeah. And you can blame a lot of things, social economic status, people losing work, all sorts of things like that contribute to this, the lifestyle of South Africans, the fear factor in South Africa as well, all contributes to this. So yeah, we're living in hard times, but I also want to say, just like reiterate what Pierre was saying, is that we're not only living in hard times, but there's a lot of people that are willing and able to help in these situations. Yolandi, I mean, you've probably had a few people reach out to you before the suicide. And I can almost say, speak maybe out of your mouth, if you could just support me, is that there's always an answer.
Absolutely, Lance.
Yeah.
Lance, I'm so glad that you said that. What if I can ask, if anybody is listening tonight and you have any form of suicidal ideation or even thinking about it, what I want you to realize is the fact that sometimes the answer that you are looking for might not feel, and I'm specifically talking about the emotion, might not feel like the answer that you need. But I really have learned that people are focusing on things like, obviously, I want to feel better. I want to, obviously, I want this pain to go away. Obviously, this burden of financially, I've lost everything. Obviously, the compassion for that is absolutely there. But there is an answer, and in trying to find the answer, it's difficult to find it by yourself. And that's what I want to say. If just don't try and find that answer by yourself. The answer is found in community, in somebody that you can trust, in a therapeutic situation? And the answer is found in something that would be defined and anchored in meaning and purpose. So we would guide a person into finding the answer in relation to, you've lost everything, or you've been diagnosed with a terminal illness. There's still an answer related to meaning and purpose that you are just not seeing right now. But I promise you it's there. I mean, if you think about the Auschwitz and the concentration camp people, there was people who found meaning even in that horrific situations. And it's the answer lies in just finding somebody with you to help you find purpose and meaning in that struggle, because it's there.
I just want to say, Michelle, you wanted to say something?
I don't know. So it was earlier when Lance was saying something about like the reality of like losing a person, and like what I can say about like the aftermath of suicide that impacted me was there was like mornings where I would wake up and I would completely forget my mom has passed away. And I would like start texting her. I would like, wait for a reply. And then I would remember, oh, okay, wait, the reality is setting in now. She's gone. Then a few months would pass and I'd forget again. I'd remember. But that's like still nothing on the impact that I feel it had on my smaller siblings. Like obviously my mom she got cremated. So the remains that were left of her, they would make turns with sleeping, like taking her in the room. And because they want to be close to mom, they want to, have that with her. So it's a really big thing. And like the reality takes long to set in. Like the aftermath is it's unexplainable. Like it's terrifying. Like the toll it takes on a person you have to learn how to live without somebody who was there, and how to go on from there, and having to wake up without them ever speaking to you, hearing their voice again. It's just,
But added with
terrible.
the questions of, I thought you loved me.
Yeah.
That burden is weighted with those added questions of, what did we have? Was it a lie? Those questions it worsens the case.
I just want to say, Lance, John Ramcharan, he's a good friend of Lance. He's actually also ALS, Advanced Life Support.
That's great.
So where Lance always jokes and says he's the scared paramedic, he'll go in after the shots are fired. John is the exact opposite. He goes in while the shots are being fired. So he said, "Good evening, Lance. Focus on one suicide in a family leading to another within the families due to no support structures."
And we get that a lot, yeah. John, you're absolutely right. That we do get that, the follow up, or the initial suicide, and then the people who can't cope afterwards, and also, attempting or even, following through with that same thing. Michelle, I heard you saying earlier, if I can mention that again, that you also had suicide tendencies, after your mother's, passing, and that. And it's a reality, that these people can't cope with that situation. Michelle, you want to say something?
In the I would say the first 4 months probably. I'm not really sure on the timeline exactly, like I said earlier. It was very, very difficult. Like I said, it felt like I was very alone. And like I said, nobody understood. They were trying to understand. Like Alyssa and I had a support system, right? I had people in place. I had people who cared and all of that. But at that point, like I didn't want it. It gets into, if I can put it, I don't want to put it as that, but self-pity, in a way that you have to give yourself that, that little bit of whatever. So there was a very dark time in that like time frame where I I found myself sitting, and this is very deep, so I'm sorry if it's triggering to anybody, but where I found myself sitting alone on the bathroom floor, absolutely losing it and not willing to go on. I was busy taking recordings to say bye to people, and just I felt so alone, right? So at that point, like looking at myself into the phone, I realized, listen, you know how you felt when your mom did this. How are the people around you going to feel when you do this?
Wow.
They're going to feel the same. You don't want to inflict that on them. Basically, first of all, I had to find a reason to stay. You have to give yourself a reason to stay, even if it's something small. Even like I said earlier to you guys, Yolandi, something is better than nothing. Like anything
Absolutely.
small that you can grasp onto is better than literally nothing. Like waking up to something is better than nothing. And I told myself, I remember telling myself in the bathroom while on the floor, planning out everything. I told myself that I have to allow myself to feel this that I'm going through. You have to allow yourself to feel the pain. It doesn't help if you just press everything together, keep it inside of you, and just like, you know, keep on thinking about it every. You have to allow yourself to feel and let it out and take as much time as you need to work through it, but just not alone.
Yes.
Because in
Just that,
my
yeah,
in my experience, when I tried to go through it alone, that's where I
Get
ended up.
lost.
mm,
And you totally like you don't care. You
Yeah.
feel dead inside. You don't care about anybody else's feelings. It's not like. But as soon as I reached out and I told the people what I was actually going through, my support system, I told them, listen, I'm not doing well. I'm going to end up just like my mom. I can't do this anymore. They started reaching out more to me. They started showing the support more, and I started feeling it. And I can tell you that's literally the only reason why I'm still here today is because of them actually showing up and me reaching out. Because if I didn't, and I continued to sit there and just like,
Yeah.
it wouldn't have ended where I am now.
wow. I absolutely love what you say there. You know, that giving a person that glimmer of hope. You
Yes.
know, and anybody can do that. You know, just hand on the shoulder. I'm sure,
Mm.
Michelle, you know, a lot of your friends didn't even know what to say. You know, but they were just there for you. You know
I
that.
remember the one situation. I was like, it was a week. It was a week after she passed. I was laying in bed rotting the whole day, like just like I couldn't move. I didn't want to eat anything, and my friend Saskia, she showed up to my house, and she didn't say anything because what would you say? She brought me flowers, she bought me food, and we were just chilling in bed the whole day playing Call of Duty, and nothing needed to be said. It's just that factor of support that somebody is there and they do care that
Yeah.
Mm,
basically took me through being okay at the end of the day.
Yeah.
wow.
I'm happy to hear that you had that support, Michelle.
I
I
wish
would,
everybody could have that support system because it's not that easy to find, to be
well, I
honest,
think,
because reaching out to someone first of all is hard enough. Like,
yeah.
what if people judge you? What if people think weirdly of you when you say, listen, I have tendencies, I don't want to be here anymore? People don't always understand what you're going through, and you shouldn't expect them to since they're not feeling that way, but you can always try to reach out. And if that person doesn't want, reach out to somebody else.
Yeah.
There's always going to be somebody
The
who
one
cares enough.
sorry for interrupting, but you touched something where you said even if you don't know what to say, what. Lance and I, we visited family members of a person that committed suicide, and the man of the house, it was this person's grandfather, and he didn't want to talk to anyone. And Lance and I, we introduced ourselves to him. He was lying in bed, and he didn't want to talk. And I said to him, "But why don't we just go and drink a coffee in the living room?
Mm.
You don't have to say anything. Let's just go drink a coffee. Let's get." and Lance and I, we went to go and sit because there was nice sun in the living room, and they actually had made very nice coffee. And he came and sat. We spoke to the rest of the family, but at least you could see he was taking in what was said. And Lance even told him, as a man, I understand that we don't really talk, but it's okay to talk. And when you are ready, we are here. But until then, let's just have a coffee. Let's just have a coffee.
But you see, Pierre, that brings us back to that initial description of what human civilization is. The earliest signs of human civilization is that person sitting next to the one with the broken femur who can't move, that person taking the time to sit next to the broken person in whatever way that person is broken, taking the time to cover, to protect, to give whatever is needed in that situation. So it brings us back to civilization, and that's our core. You know, we are created in ways where we can sit with the broken and sit with the weak, and when we are broken, when we are weak, having somebody to sit with us, we are created like that. And what I just want to point out, there's a couple of things that stood out for me that I feel is very important to focus on. First, just in terms of your friend's question on this dynamic where suicide has this ripple effect of people, one after the other committing suicide. We see it sometimes in high schools also when so let's just go back to that parallel universe again. Just remember the mechanics of when you are in a relationship with someone, friend, whatever the context of the relationship is. There was a transaction between you and that person, a transaction built on something that you took as truth, and this might sound harsh, but it's not said in a harsh way. Suicide, in some sense, is a form of betrayal to the people who are left behind. And this is something to think about, even when you yourself are thinking about suicide at times. Is how far are you willing to betray? Because that's, even in your pain, you are not allowed to betray. You are still called to carry, to ask for help, or to sit with help. So, in any case, I'm off the point. That the fact is, we go into this transaction of truth between us, and then you rip your life away from me, and I now not only question why you did what you did, but I'm also in questioning every decision I made in relation to you. Like, am I even capable of defining reality now? Am I even capable of understanding reality? Because I thought I was in a real space with that person, just to find out I'm not. So it brings a lot of personal things that person starts to go into that downward spiral, where in that parallel universe, what we see, hear, feel, and touch, you don't even understand it yourself. So it's difficult for the people around you to understand as well, and you just get pulled into this dark pit, and then people commit suicide as well, and they just add to that sense of hopelessness and loss. Like this, and in essence, what it's about is, I actually just don't want to live like this anymore. Actually, the question might be asked, do I really want to die? Or is it just me not wanting to live like this anymore? And that, for me, is the essence of suicide. And when there's a ripple effect, eventually the people around the one who committed suicide, also, they don't want to live like this anymore. They don't want to live in this reality or this parallel universe anymore, where they can't answer these questions. They can't identify themselves anymore. So I don't want to live like this anymore. And suicide is committed. Obviously, we're talking very generalized, but in essence, do you really want to die, or do you just not want to live like this anymore?
I actually, before we go off now, I want to actually read something I wrote because Yolandi, for many people that don't know, last year I was going through a very, very difficult time, and Yolandi was there and she helped me, and that's why I firmly believe in her skills. I went to her, and Yolandi actually saved a life then. So I want to read that. It's in Afrikaans, but I'll still read it. I just want to say some of the comments. Ariska says, so true, support structures are so important. Ewart Lagranci says, togetherness is what I think was our survival mechanism, sharing feelings. And then he also goes on and writes, I attended many, many scenes on suicides. The one thing that was always said was, if they only spoke out.
Oh,
Now, Everett is also a paramedic. Well, he used to be a paramedic. He's now private in the private sector. But yeah, he's also been around the block. Yeah, just also that's just touching on my heart as well. You know, is the paramedics out there, you know, and the policemen and the firefighters. You know, I think you guys all know me by now. You know, I'm a statistics type of person, but you know, the reality is, you know, as a frontliner or a first responder, you have more chance of dying because of suicide than what you have in the line of duty.
yeah.
And you know, we as first responders, you know, we keep this bottled up. You know, Yolandi, you can maybe also support me, as you know, we don't suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder.
No.
We suffered from continuous exposure to stress disorder. You know, we bottle up with other people's emotions, and we bottle up, you know, with a mixture of our emotions, their emotions, you know, seeing all these scenes, you know, from the child that drowned right through to the suicide, motor vehicle accident, etc. And we bottle up these things. And I want to encourage the first responders out there, please talk out. You know, that is the best, you know, best medicine is to talk out in these times of situation, you know, that type of situation.
Can I just support you there, Lance, in the sense of sometimes what I find in therapy is that people, we talk about just talk with somebody, and then people might think, but how is that going to help? In terms of what you are saying there is, I want to say, it's not just the case of you just talking to anybody. Because truthfully, specifically being a first responder, what you experience, you and Pierre, the sights that you see is really abnormal to a degree that even your loved ones close to you might not understand. And so when you speak, it has to be to somebody who has some sense of what the abnormality of your situation is and then the talking is not just, you know, babbling away. What it's doing is you are reiterating how your brain coded your sights and experiences, because you don't know how your brain coded something until it is spoken into reality or written down. I like the fact that you write so much, Pierre. You are a true artist in writing. But just quickly think about this. It's a psychological fact that, well, first of all, it's a scientific fact that matter consists of what we see, what we feel, what we touch, what we hear with our senses. So if something does not have those qualities, we can ask, is it reality? So reality is based on what is matter, and something can only come into reality when it is spoken or heard or felt. And when we see things like what you guys are seeing, or Michelle, what you've experienced, and you just keep it inside and you think to yourself, maybe I can just, you know, do some self-talk or the code of what is written in your mind on how you are processing it is not in reality. It's within your psyche. That's not a good place for it to be. It must be in reality, because it's in reality where somebody who has ears to hear can say, oh, you know what? You are coding it like this instead of that. Therefore, you're used to dealing with this trauma like this. Now you're dealing it with like that. And oh, now I see how my brain is dealing with it. Oh, now I have choices. Now I can choose certain emotions differently. So the talking is important because it brings whatever is in your psyche into a reality that we can actually work with and shape and create in a way that's meaningful.
Absolutely, Yolanda. And part of my ministry, Frontline of Hope, is exactly creating that platform for people to talk to people who understand what it's like to go through that situation. Because not everybody understands a frontliner. Going out to all of these scenes, you go to a normal psychologist. Or just a normal person, and just say, I've held 3 children dead in my arms this week. Nobody understands that reality, and that's why I think the Lord laid the foundation of Frontline of Hope for the frontliners, because it's people with like mind speaking to people with understand what we've been through.
Absolutely.
I just want to say, Kevin Buata, he's a fireman. He says, "Good evening. I've attended a suicide last year where a family committed suicide. It's in our town. Yolandi, I don't know if you know if you've heard it. It was last year. I've experienced that it affects that community more than what we were aware of. And I think that is something we don't really consider." And then Evert says, "I get shivers from what you just said, Lance. It was a couple of minutes ago. We are dependent on it. We are dependent on it, the worst of the worst, and no one helps the people that helps." And then Rika Spotgieter, he says, "My view is that no one really understands suicide until you lose someone close to you. After my brother's suicide in 2022, I had a trauma counselor, a captain. She's a friend. We had coffee and breakfast dates, and she explained to me about the 3 layers of the brain and what that person goes through just before doing it. She gave me so many tools to cope with everything." Now,
Wonderful.
Rikus is he works for a security company, but he was also a policeman, and a lot of operations that I was included with, like a year or 2 ago. I would also always phone him. He was always on speed dial to come and help with going and finding firearms and drugs and
Sure.
stuff like that. So yeah.
Wow.
I don't know if you see, I'm also watching it live via an Everett is saying, ex-first responders struggling with reality. We were superhuman without any support. I understand exactly what Everett is saying there. We were always brought up to say, suck it up, buttercup, cowboys don't cry and so on. And, Everett, we still got a coffee date. Please, brother, come and see me and let's have a lacquer chat, my man.
And yeah, just to come back also to hope. There is always hope. Michelle, you said it so nicely. And if you think your English is bad, my airtime, I always say, at least I can say hello and Coca-Cola. But you said it so nice when you said you have to get something, even if it's just a glimpse of hope, to carry on.
Absolutely.
And I think from all 4, no matter what opinion and stuff about hope Yolandi, Lance, and myself can talk to about, nothing would be as powerful as what you said.
Yeah.
From coming from your point of view.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
I want to reach out and encourage people. I'm going to put the numbers back on the screen. If you feel you can't cope, if you wanna, there is help. You can reach out. There are 2 lines, contact numbers you can contact, and we don't necessarily always have the answers, but we can connect you with other people, or we can even help guide you so that you can reach out to your friends, to your family. I've also gained a lot of insight tonight after listening to you, Michelle. Really, I've gained a lot of insight.
Yes, Michelle, you're very brave, as Lon said earlier, being so
Well,
vulnerable and sharing your
uh,
story.
You're a
Michelle,
Well,
brave
it took
person.
it took
I
a
want
long
to
time to
applaud
come
you.
here. Thank
Uh,
you.
thank you very much for sharing your story, Michelle. It touched my heart, and hearing the other side of things like it, because often as paramedics as well, we don't get to hear this, and it's important for us to hear it. And thank you, thank you for your bravery and your for sharing. I really, really appreciate you.
It's a pleasure.
And I just want to add just one thing that I want to just highlight from what I heard from you with your own personal struggle with your suicidal ideation is finding that something to live for. And I really, that point is much more valuable than anybody can ever really consider. Just take time to think about that if you're listening. Um, we are, in a sense, sort of being thrown with information of living life for yourself.
Mm.
And we are not created to live our lives for ourselves. Our lives do not belong to us.
Mm.
It belongs to God and community.
Absolutely.
And yes, we have a relationship and a responsibility towards ourselves. But I want to sort of just speak it out in the sense that if you feel like you can't live for yourself anymore, live for somebody else.
Mm.
At least that, because the aftermath of taking your own life, the havoc of that does not bring the peace that you might be envisioning if you were thinking of suicide. Some people think that they will be released from the pain and the agony of this world. But you do not know what you're plunging yourself into. Nobody knows what lies after that barrier of death. We are all sitting on this side of the barrier, and you don't know what you might be plunging yourself into for eternity. So your chances of bearing the weight, even though it's heavy, even if it's for somebody else, that is a better pain. Yet it's a pain, but it's a better pain than a one that you don't know what you might be plunging yourself into eternity.
Yeah.
It brings me to one of my favorite Bible verses. It's Galatians 6 verse 2,
Yeah.
where it says, bear one another's
Yes.
burdens and so
Yes.
fulfill the
Yes.
law of Christ. And,
Yeah.
that is, the crux of the matter. We are created to bear each other's burdens.
Yes.
No matter what situation you are, you can still bear another person's burdens. And that is the law of Christ. The law of Christ is simple. Love God, love your neighbor, love yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
And you will live.
Yeah,
Mm.
Coming or
absolutely.
not, you will live in a way that will bring meaning. It will bring meaning.
Yeah.
And Michelle,
And
you are proof of that. Here you are sitting
absolutely.
Oh,
today.
Michelle,
You
I'm
took
so
the words out of my mouth.
Michelle.
Really, Michelle,
Just
you're an inspiration to a lot of people out there. I really believe that.
There are 3 people here tonight which you've impacted massively. En ek gaan eerlik wees, ek het dit nie verwag nie. Ek het nie verwag
Well done.
'n persoon wat saam met my op 'n podcast gaan wees, gaan so 'n massiewe impak op my maak nie. Yes, en dankie daarvoor.
Julle het glo dit of nie, but you guys also made a very big impact on me as well in numerous ways that I'm not willing to share at the moment, but it made me open my eyes a bit. So
Yeah.
I think this was all a part of God's plan for us to get
Absolutely.
it out and for us to hear it as well and to
Mm.
talk about it. So I think it was very necessary because there's just somebody out there who might be struggling at the moment and this would maybe help them. So I'm very happy that we could do this tonight.
Amen.
Galatians 6 verse 2.
Amen.
I just want to read this. I think I did read it to Yolandi. And it's called Binne. It's in Afrikaans. So as and I actually speak about Jolande en dit is 'n deurbraak wanneer my vriend die pistool teen sy kop laat sak. Die engelle jubel wanneer my vriend wegstap van die tou wat vas is aan die dak. En dit is vir my 'n wen wanneer my vriend my bel en ek hoor die eerste keer hoe hy huil. Want my vriend het op daardie oomblik onthou dat ek hom vir niks of niemand wil verruil. Jy wat 'n lewe red, dit is Jolande. Jy wat 'n lewe red, het eendag vir my gesê. Weet net jou vriend wil lewe, maar nie meer die lewe. So vra wat 'n lewe wil hy vir homself hê. Vandag wil ek jou vra dat jy my sal vertrou, soveel soos ek jou vertrou. Gooi terug die pille, want jou seuns wat agterbly is die wat jou keuse gaan berou. Daar is 'n herlewing in die hemel wanneer my vriend nie voor sy tyd sterf. Ek weet die Vader het nog 'n plan sodat jy die ewigheid eendag saam met my kan erf. Dit is 'n lang pad en rusplekke is min, maar my vriend, ons kan hierdie wedloop maak. Binne jou is daar 'n man wat gered kan word. Laat toe dat God daardie ou aanraak. Ou vriend, jou dogter verdien dat jy haar eendag aan haar bruidegom sal gee. Jou seuns verdien die geredde man binne jou wat langs die rugbyveld vir hulle oorwinning skree. Jy voel soos niks en glo my ek verstaan. Maar jou vriend aan die kant van die foon weier om jou te laat gaan. Dit is 'n deurbraak wanneer jy my bel en sê jy is nou weer okay. Dit is 'n antwoord op gebed wanneer jou kinders nie na jou begrafnis hoef te ry. Saam met my is daar vandag herlewing in die hemel, omdat jy nie voor jou tyd sterf. En weer eens is ek nie net verlig, maar trots dat ons saam eendag die ewigheid sal erf.
Wow.
Ek dink ek en Michelle is nou in trane. But that's, yeah, absolutely beautiful, Pierre. If I can ask you to put that on
Yes.
Facebook as well for us, please, on
Yeah,
on this live stream, so that people can actually read that as well.
I'll do
Wow,
Ons
Please.
baie mooi.
Now that's been brought into reality that we can work with. Thank you, Pierre.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, before we go to final thoughts and stuff, I just want to once again thank you, Vaal Emergency Care, for supporting this episode. I'll scroll the numbers again. I just want to say there's someone, Nadia de Jager, says, will a person who wants to commit suicide drop hints, like the boy who cried wolf, where it is going tough, and they will drop a thing if I feel like driving into a wall?
Yeah, they will.
Yeah.
Not all, but yeah, because usually, as I said, in essence, most of the time, suicide is not committed because the person wants to die. Suicide is committed because I don't want to live like this anymore. And they drop hints. But then there's also some internalized belief that even though I'm dropping hints, nobody can save me from this life that I'm living. That's a lie. Because this life that you are living now can change. But yeah, the hints are dropped. We always take it serious. And we ask, what is the life that you want to live, as you said in your poem, Pierre? It's very generalized though, but yeah, they don't want to die. They just don't want to live like this anymore.
We're getting a lot of comments, but I think let's wrap it up. Any final thoughts, Jolande?
I think I'm sticking to my final thought. The essence of suicide. Ask yourself the question, I don't want to die. Is it possible that you don't want to die, that you just don't want to live like this anymore? If that's the case, please reach out to somebody that you can trust. And please don't stop until you find that one meaningful answer. And remember, your life is to be carried with other people. Don't walk it alone. We get lost. We all get lost when we walk alone. So may you find that person that you can walk with. And if you are a loved one that stayed behind, may you find that hand who brings you back out of that parallel universe into the reality that you were shaken from. May you be brought back to, yes, where reality might be painful, but where you can start to process and deal and rebuild your identity and to rebuild the reality that you are living in a way that you will be safe again also.
Lance?
Sure. There's a lot on my mind going on at the moment, but yeah, I just wanted to first say thank you to Yolandi and Michelle, for joining us tonight, for Yolandi imparting your wisdom, and your experience with working with people who are struggling, with emotions and so on, and I just want to say thank you, for your work that you do. It's really, really touches my heart, and to know that there are people like that are willing to be the hand, that offers the help and so on, and then Michelle, thank you for your bravery tonight, of actually telling us, what it's like to be on the receiving end. And also telling us, the hope that you had, met die vrienden wat jou bossie blomme gekoop het and just said nothing, just be there for you, that really, took me home, because I'm all about saying nothing. Pierre will understand my statement there, is you just bring the essence and the presence of God to somebody. And that is what your friend done. They were just there in that time of need, just to not even listen to any moans or gripes, just be there, And I applaud you as well just for tonight. Thank you very, very much. And then to everybody, Pierre, thank you for your dedication on this program as well. I see you looking left, right, trying to keep things together, and you do such a phenomenal job. Thank you for, creating this platform for us as well. And also for your poem, like, Yolandi says you have a gift, and, thank you for using that as well. And that goes to everybody out there as well, is that there is always hope. There's always somebody that will listen. There's always somebody that will buy a bossie blomme or for chocolates or something like that. As long as it's a constructive sort of help as well. It doesn't help you always running to the bar and getting drunk and things like that. Guys, be careful of that as well. You have to be drawn closer to the hope that Christ can only give you. And by buying, I'm sure that person who bought you flowers, Michelle, brought you closer to God than what a drink at the bar would have done. So I just want to encourage everybody that there's always hope. There's always somebody or something to reach out to, and the right people, to talk to, people with the right mind, the right understanding of what your situation is. So that's my last little bit.
And Michelle?
Just to keep it short and sweet, basically 2 things: reach out and give yourself a reason. That's it.
Good job.
Wow.
It's the 2 basics.
Awesome.
No,
Yes, I get goosebumps.
Yes, ek tot aan my kleintoon.
Das.
Ek sal nou die nommers weer laat verbygaan. Estel sê dankie julle vir die. Ek glo hierdie maak 'n impak. En ja, Michelle, weer eens so bitterlik baie dankie. Ek kan nie imagine die hoeveelheid, the amount of bravery it took to come onto an unknown platform with unknown people, unknown intentions, and be so vulnerable.
Wow.
And Michelle, if Superman dies, you are my hero.
Sweet. Thank you.
So, but yeah, I just want to. Okay, the numbers are on now. Thank you guys, and I'm going to end off with our promo video. They are the ones who run towards the danger. Our first responders are heroes in uniform. They face situations most of us can't even imagine. But who do they turn to when those experiences become too hairy? That is where Frontline steps in. Trauma support teams and chaplains are there on the front line with our heroes, provide lifeline in the midstorm, offering comfort, understanding and a safe space to process the unimaginable. Because even our heroes need help. Frontline of hope, answering the call when our heroes need someone to answer theirs.